people are like, you see, you were wrong. You guys were wrong. You misled us. You said it was a good trade, and it's already a terrible trade. And can you point to me stats that show that Ferriera hasn't been a bust? He said, show me the numbers. Show me stats that show he's not a bust. Show me the stats. Okay. First of all, he doesn't have 3 assists. He has 5 assists. MLS counts secondary assists. You all know my take on that. And look, okay, here's what I'll say about this. Some of you just need to get a grip on this topic. We had one guy talking about how Ryan Kent has 2 assists in 58 minutes. Jesus Ferriera has 3 assists in 600 minutes. Therefore, Ferriera is a bust. Which, first of all, I think Ryan Kent I wouldn't compare him to Ryan Kent. Ryan Kent is apparently just him. It's very, very, very rare for a player to come into a new team like that and look that good that fast. That is the exception. But the person in question was saying, can you point to me stats that show that Ferriera hasn't been a bust? And he said that like it was a dunk, like I wasn't going to be able to do it. He said, show me the numbers. Explain it to me. You know how when you know that you're right about something, so you hit the other person with the explain to me how this, because you know they can't. That's what he was trying to do. He's trying to get me with show me stats that show he's not a bust. Show me the stats. Okay. First of all, he doesn't have 3 assists. He has 5 assists. MLS counts secondary assists. You all know my take on that. I think that secondary assists are entirely valid. But even if you don't, regardless of what you think of the validity of putting a secondary assist on the stat sheet, MLS counts them. A lot of leagues don't. Whatever your opinion on that is, when I look at it, a secondary assist is an example of a play where he was involved in a sequence that led to a goal. So regardless of the stat sheet, it's a positive moment. It's a good moment. His secondary assist in whatever game that was, where I think the Colorado game, where he played KKR in and KKR got the primary. That's a great pass. That's a good moment. It's a good moment for the guy. I can acknowledge both things, okay? I can acknowledge a game like St. Louis away or San Diego away where he didn't look good. It didn't look like it was meshing. It was off. It wasn't there. But I can also look at a game like the Nashville game where he had 2 primary assists and be like, that looked good. I thought he was really good in that game, not just with the assists, but just overall. I thought he looked sharp. I thought he was dangerous. I thought he was combining with everyone a lot better. I thought he looked a lot better getting that role to himself, where, I mean, we've talked a lot about how Ferriera and Rusnak haven't popped together so far. I thought the Nashville game, he looked a lot better in that position. He got on the stat sheet twice and he looked dangerous the whole game. So there was that game. I thought his secondary assist in the Colorado game on the Moose goal was great. I thought his primary assist to KKR in the LAFC game. You had people at the time saying that one didn't count because KKR did all the work. KKR doesn't have work to do if Ferriera doesn't put a nice ball over the top. That was a good pass. Why are we not acknowledging that was a good pass? So anyway, the number one is, I don't know if this guy is watching or if he cares, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. Number one, your assist numbers were wrong. MLS counts secondary. He has 5. And you want another stat? He has 7. All comps. I bet you didn't even think about all comps. Didn't even think about it. He has 7. 2 primary in CCC. You can say it doesn't count because it was Antigua. I know that's probably what you're going to say. That doesn't count. It was against the Guatemalan team. Whatever. He got the assists. And I think a lot of his best moments so far were or at least at the beginning of the season, were when he was playing with Arriola. You could really tell that they already had a built-in thing. So I think Arriola going down, that took away his ability to kind of hit the ground running in that respect with them coming from the same team. But my point is that if you're crashing out about how he's been a bust, I feel like you're just being a little melodramatic. For him to be a bust, he'd have to be a total worthless 0, contributing nothing, being a detriment to the team. I don't think that that's been the case. I think there's been some not so good games and moments, and I think there's been some better games and some good moments. Can both of those things not be true? It's been a mixed bag, but I don't think it's been as bad as people are saying. I think we're being dramatic here. I think we need to get a grip. Secondary assists are not ridiculous. We can have this conversation if you want to have it. It's ridiculous because you don't like the player that I'm talking about and you don't want to give him credit for anything. So if you acknowledge the secondary assists, you have to acknowledge that he did something well. Secondary assist makes perfect sense. The logic is fine. I think it's completely logical to reward the guy who plays the pass that sets up the primary assist. I think Ferriera's, the assist that the secondary he had on that goal in Colorado is a perfect example of that. He hits KKR right in stride, perfect weight on it, puts it into place where he can hit Moose. Why shouldn't he get credit for that? Why? This is the thing. People just take secondary assists are like Mickey Mouse Bush League as gospel. If you actually think about it, there's nothing like illogical about it. It makes absolute perfect sense. And all your favorite leagues that don't count them, they're the Mickey Mouse ones. How about that? You're a Mickey Mouse league if you don't count secondary assists. You should give credit to the guy who sets up the guy who gets the primary. Why not? Secondary assists should be standard and awarded to everyone that connects uninterrupted passes before a goal. I'd go full secondary assists. See, I don't even think you need to go that far. That's the other thing about this secondary assist discussion is people say, well, if you're going to give the assist to the secondary guy, where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? Do you have to give it to the one before that too? You draw the line at the second guy. That is the easiest question to answer of all time. That's the line. I drew it. You don't even have to do anything where you credit the whole sequence. The guy who sets up the guy, those are the two guys who set up the goal. Those are the guys who get the assist. Makes perfect sense. It doesn't matter as it pertains to this Ferriera, to what I'm saying about Ferriera. You can not believe in secondary assists. You can count them or not count them in your own mind, in your own heart. What I'm saying is that when I look at a sequence where Ferriera plays the pass before the pass and it leads to a goal, I consider that like, okay, he did something good. He had a good pass. He was part of a buildup that led to a goal. Good. That's what I want to see from him. That's what I want to see from him. If he's not part of dangerous sequences like that, that would be concerning. But if I look at it and I'm like, all right, he's got 3 primary assists in league play and then 2 secondary, which are both additional plays where he contributed to goals. That's pretty good. It's not nothing. I will say I get why some people I want to be dismissive. I've been pretty dismissive. I don't want to be dismissive of the fact that he hasn't scored yet. That's not good. A big part of the reason he was brought here was to score goals. He's scored a lot of them in his MLS career, 50 plus of them. So he's got a pretty proven track record of doing that. If he's not scoring goals, then you're not fully maximizing what you're supposed to get out of the player. He didn't come here to be Steve Nash. He's not John Stockton. Okay, he's got to put the ball in the net. But I'm not as concerned about that as some people. I think that will come eventually. Maybe I could be wrong. If I'm wrong and we get to the end of this season and he's still sitting on a goose egg, I will eat my words and you can call me out on that and I will admit that I was wrong. I'm pretty sure he's going to start banging in some goals. I've watched him enough in his career. He's got a lot of them. I think he's going to start to score some of these. He's had some chances, we know. He's hit 2 of them into the 47th row, 1 in Mexico, 1 in Colorado. I've also seen him score a lot of goals like that in his career. This is the thing. I'm coming at this from a place of someone who has watched a lot of FC Dallas over the years with him as a centerpiece. So I know he can score goals. Everyone should be able to see that too from looking at the stat sheet over his career. Scoring goals has not been that big of an issue for this guy throughout his career. So I think, and this is just a prediction, again, could be wrong. I think we're looking at some finishing variance here over a small sample size. I also think we're looking at a player that's not entirely fit in on his new team yet. And we're looking at a guy who had a couple of good chances that he put into the 47th row. But I've also watched enough of this sport over the years to know that if you have someone with a proven track record that is not performing up to that, sometimes that means that they've just lost it. But a lot of times it also evens out and they go back to more like their career norms. So is he going to bang in 15 goals this year? Probably not, but I don't think he needs to on this team. I think it's honestly fine if it turns out that his best role on this team is more as a facilitator than a goal scorer. But I'm definitely not naive to the fact that they need him to start scoring goals for the signing to be considered like truly a hit. But I think we are being dramatic about this. We're being dramatic about this. It has not been that bad. It really hasn't. I even know there's brigade members that have started to be like, all right, it hasn't been that bad. 7 assists all comps is not nothing. Even if you want to take away his secondary, 5 assists all comps is not nothing. It's something. It's not a 0. It's not a bust yet. What would have to happen for me to consider it a bust? Look, even if he only scores a couple goals this year, if he puts up like double digit, like 10 to 15 assists, I would take that. Like I would not think that's a bust, even if the goal scoring numbers aren't there. For it to be a bust, you understand, bust means like you're 0, you're nothing. So I guess if he doesn't get any goal contributions for the rest of the year and is playing a lot of minutes and contributes like pretty much nothing to the offense, nothing to the team, we get to the end of the season and we're like, man, Ferriera had some assists early, but after that he was pretty much a 0, then I will call it a bust. Yeah. If he ends up at like 4 goals, 13 assists or something, it wouldn't be as many goals as we all hoped or wanted, but that wouldn't be a bust. Yeah, 5, 6 goals, 12 assists, especially on this team where like he doesn't need to be putting up crooked numbers like he did for FC Dallas to be successful. He doesn't have to do that here. That's why I think like it's not cope to say that his best role might just be as a facilitator on this particular team. Just means they got a lot of other good players. I want him to start scoring goals though, mainly just so we can stop this bust talk. Hasn't been a bust. It hasn't popped. Hasn't been a bust. Over under on 3.5 goal contributions for Jesus in his next 3 matches. Over, but all assists apparently. De La Vega needed a year here to figure it out. This is Ferreira's first career move. He needs time to figure it out. I'm glad some people are willing to give that to him, you know. I'm a benefit of the doubt type of guy. Okay. Never going to condemn anybody for an 11-game sample size on a new team. Like you said, first time moving teams in his career. And it hasn't been as bad as the comments that we are getting are saying. I know everyone has been itching to dunk on us for that because we had the audacity to say that we liked the trade when it happened. But my thing is also like, you have to look at process over results sometimes. Just in the sense of like, even if something doesn't work out, it's like, can you at least understand why it was done? I mean, I'll tell you just from my perspective, if you told me that they had that deal on the table and they didn't bring Ferreira onto the team below a DP threshold for whatever reason, we don't want to bring in a guy who's already played in MLS, that would piss me off. That's why it's good that fans aren't GMs, man. That's why it's good that fans aren't GMs.